before we get into all of that, we generally talk about the box office.
Yes, not a lot of need to go into it in super deep detail. It is kind of interesting that Wolverine and Deadpool in its fifth weekend managed to retake the number one crown from Alien Romulus.
Yes.
But Alien Romulus was a cheap enough movie that it's probably already profitable or close to it.
Yeah, I think what was it, 80 million?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Let's find out. Yep, 80 million.
yeah.
It's doing buco business internationally. I wonder. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, China. Yeah.
China's about half of the international box office. I kind of actually, that is interesting because I can't think of the last time that China actually made a big dent on a American movie.
Yeah. The only one I can think of is the Meg 2.
So I guess they continue. What the Chinese market continues to like kind of schlocky action monster movies.
Yeah. Which, yeah, doesn't surprise me all that much.
Right. I mean, they're the easiest to translate, and although I wonder, it's interesting that the xenomorphs get away from what I believe they have a restriction in China that they don't like having skulls in media because it like ties into the ancestor worship.
Hmm.
Of course,
I've
they're
never
trying
heard that
to
before.
they're
Hmm.
trying to stamp that out.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah, but got some thrillers here. Then Lionsgate for the second time this summer had to eat crow
Yeah. Ooh.
because they made a big expensive crow movie. Well, 50 million isn't that expensive,
Yeah, but
but
they're not making that.
no, they are not. Actually, you know what? Lionsgate themselves might because they only had like a percentage of this movie, a certain marketing spend they had to make, and then they probably already pre-sold it to a bunch of international distributors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
their dent is probably smaller than you might think.
Yeah. Okay.
Still
But
not, still not good.
no, it's still not good. No. Yeah. This movie seemed to be like doomed from the start. I mean, because the original Crow has this mythos around it, largely because of the fact that the star Brandon Lee died when they were making the movie, um, rather tragically, and it kind of tapped into the zeitgeist of the early mid '90s. That's kind of right around when not punk rock, grunge
Grunge,
was becoming a thing, and
90s comics.
'90s comics, yeah, and that kind of weird dark gothic aesthetic was becoming really popular. So and you really can't.
Uh,
That's really hard to duplicate, in another movie.
well, and also, a lot of people, including the director of the original movie, thought it was really disrespectful to just do a remake and call another guy the same name.
Yeah, I mean, at least with the sequels that they did to the first movie, they had different characters as the Crow. It wasn't Eric Draven; they were different guys. So at least with those, it's like, okay, well, they're respecting the legacy of the first movie and the memory of Brandon Lee. This one, they're not doing that at all.
No.
Yeah.
Um, but there are other parts of the box office, but there are bigger bombs and hits in a different but related medium, video games. And
Yes.
the title we came up with for this video before the show was 10 Years of the Most Expensive Market Research Known to Man.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we're at the tail end of a grand experiment to see what people actually like and will pay for.
Yeah. And it's not what the people who are making these things thought that it would be.
Right. So just to go back a page here to, we'll talk about movies for a brief moment. Um, all year long we kept hearing about how the box office was fundamentally dead, and we were reporting on that week after week. Just $30 million openings for movies with $200 million budgets, and on and on and on. And it looked like there might not be a movie this year that cracked $1 billion. Then we
Yeah.
had the 1-2 combo of Inside Out 2 and Deadpool Wolverine.
Yes. Oddly enough, both of them from Disney, which I wouldn't was not expecting.
Yeah, well, it's because, thank you for bringing up Disney. Disney has also been participating in this. See, the reason it's the most expensive market research ever is that, of course, the bigger your sample size, the more expensive it is to get. And they've been doing a 1-to-1 ratio of the population compared to the market size
Yeah.
for a while, because you had a multi-year period there where Pixar was coming out with movies like Elemental and it's your Elemental, Soul,
Coco.
Coco. I would say is this is specifically like the post-pandemic, which launched just as the pandemic was starting.
Okay.
Um, and I can tell you, I think I ended up watching all of them except for Turning Red. I rage quit on after 5 minutes because I said, okay, I'm just going to cringe out of my skull
Yeah.
if I keep watching this. Um, and I haven't ever gotten around to trying Soul, but I've seen the other ones, and
Mm. Oh,
middling.
Lightyear. Yeah.
Middling is like a kind word for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially Lightyear. Good God, that movie was
Oh, I
horrible.
forgot about Lightyear. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no. Uh, and there were certain commonalities here, and I would say those commonalities are eh, being excessively biographical and navel gazy,
Hmm.
to use a technical term. Like when you look at not Coco, when you look at eh, Luca and Turning Red, they were specifically like just about, and even Elemental. It's like they were plucked out of the director's lived experiences and just spat onto the page untranslated.
Oh yeah. Especially Elemental. I think that was about the director's, yeah, his life as an immigrant from Korea. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and this is a lesson that I've had to learn over time. I'm not that interesting. Like most people aren't actually that interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think you're interesting, but that's just me.
But you're biased. You have to
Eh,
say it. You're my co-host.
Oh, okay.
But let's talk about some of the enormous body blows that the video game industry has suffered. Because what's interesting is that as big and bloated as Hollywood budgets are, video games have the potential to be an even bigger drain on the pocketbooks of their creators, because you have a lot more infrastructure that you have to build. Here's how I put this: a movie anymore is designed to, it comes out once in the theaters, then you maybe sell it to Netflix, and then you're basically done. And you just have to budget for that.
Hmm.
But for a lot of the games we're going to talk about here, they were budgeted as if, well, we're spending 200 million up front, but we're going to make microtransactions forever, baby, so we can afford to overspend a bit.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny how, like, just in a row you had these games come out. So first off, we have Dustborn, which
Mm,
I feel embarrassed that some of my Game Pass money went to help this thing out, but
yeah.
I the last I heard, it had not broken triple digits on Steam.
Oof.
Dustborn is kind of interesting because it feels like if you told Ethan Van Sciver or your boy Zach to make a video game about 2016 era SJWs. which spoiler alert, they both attempt like they attempt there were efforts to ostracize and make them both end themselves in that time period. So this is
Mm.
about like that. Imagine how mean they would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Eh.
And I've seen gameplay. Um, the lead actress does not sound like she cares or can emote,
Mm.
which is funny considering that one of the gameplay elements is that you can literally get triggered and shout commands at people that cause them to injure themselves, like calling them a racist or saying that everybody hates them or things like that.
Oh, jeez. Man. Oh
Um,
boy.
and what's funny is that I think she's just an outright villain. One of the powers you can learn is bully. We've learned to bully people. Bully gives us the power to force people to do something they may not want to do or to make them feel bad about themselves. In fights, this could be highly effective on targeted enemies.
Wow.
Yeah, and as I recall, the funny thing is, the first scene where she uses this talent, she actually uses it on one of her teammates who is not going along with their plan.
Oh boy. Oof.
Yeah, it's the Norwegian and apparently the American government both contributed to this game, so
Mm,
tax
wonderful.
dollars at work.
Yeah. Jeez. Mm.
Next up on the list of video game body blows, man, as if Star Wars wasn't having a hard enough time, you had Star Wars Outlaws come out to widespread derision.
Yeah.
Now, initially, a lot of the focus of that derision focused on two factors. One, the main character wasn't conventionally attractive, and despite her or her motion capture model being a very beautiful woman,
Yeah.
and two, it being an Ubisoft single player game in 2024,
Ooh. Ugh.
which people have kind of noticed, huh? Ubisoft just like keeps making the same open world game over and over again with different skins on it. There's just a huge number of checklists that you have to go through to beat the game.
Yeah. That's a recipe for a hit.
I mean, it's worked well enough for them so far, though. Their
Mm.
stock is down from €20 in 2021 to like 350 today.
Oof. Man.
What's interesting is that this puts their market cap value at like 2 billion euros, which means that a player like Sony, Microsoft, or eh, Amazon, or anybody else who felt like getting into gaming could possibly try to snap them up.
Hmm.
They would probably get blocked because it's a French company. I don't see France wanting to let a multinational take away, one of their crown media jewels, even if it's tarnished.
Yeah.
But still, it's theoretically possible.
Yeah.
But it seems like the bigger problem, a lot of effort online went into going after the first issue. The second issue seems to be us getting people more because
Yeah.
it just seems like to be a buggy, glitch-laden mess.
Yeah. Which seems to be a trend with a lot of video games these days. I had the misfortune of you know dumbest things I ever did was pre-ordering Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh no! Ah, you
Yeah,
poor man.
and getting that, and then yeah, my face is tired. Oh.
Uh, what's funny about Star Wars is that apparently that game had its facial capture in some scenes was said to be sub Andromeda by some reviewers.
Oh man. Oh.
And I saw some examples of that in some clips.
Yeah. I think you sent me one of those. Yeah, like ugh.
Yeah,
I've never seen such lifeless eyes on an animated character before in my life.
yeah. It's like a doll's eyes.
Yeah.
um, but of course, the difference with that one is that people seem to actually be playing that one. Of course, the people who spent the $130 to get the deluxe package um, were told, "Hey, sorry guys, the day one patch is going to be incompatible with your save files, so you'll get buggy as you go along. So go ahead and start a new file." Like, why did I spend the extra $60?
Yeah. Yeah. I would be asking for some of my money back.
They would of course go, "Oh, but you got the extra missions," and it's like, screw you.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And then we've got the one that has been the real internet punching bag. Oh, did I accidentally disarrange my things here? I did accidentally disarrange my things here. So I'm not going to
Uh-oh.
show the initial character I was going to show. So instead we get to look at her from Concord.
Yes.
Um, Concord is one of the various live service games that Sony went all in on about 5-ish years ago, I believe. 'Cause, several of those games have been canceled. The only one that's really come out and hit was Helldivers, which that was a big hit, but it doesn't
Yeah.
quite make up for the canceled games and efforts along the way.
Yeah. Which there have been many of those.
And what seems to be interesting about Concord is that Steam is like the worst enemy for bombing games because, of course, the player count is publicly available,
Yeah.
unlike PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo. So we know that the total number of concurrent players on Concord has never exceeded about 700, at
Oof.
least the last I heard. And this is a game that had 8 years of varying degrees of development and 8 years of varying degrees of development and a $200 million budget reportedly.
Uh, I there's no excuse for that. I'm sorry. There's no reason for you to be doing that.
And the weird thing is, there's like so many like easily preventable things that they could have done here. Like the game costs $40. Most games in this genre these days are of hero shooters because boy, you know what game came out 8 years ago? Overwatch. You know
Mm.
when they started working on this game? Shortly after Overwatch came out. It's like Firewalk Studios decided, you know what, we can make our own Overwatch.
No.
Um, Now, and what's interesting is that they also just people have accused the game of being very woke, whatever that means to them.
Yeah.
It does seem like there's a big focus on body positivity and identity,
Mm.
but it's also like whoever designed the characters just didn't understand how character design works. Because like I'm going to compare this character to a similar looking character from Overwatch. Which one of these has more personality? Uh,
Definitely.
a Michael Jackson here
Yeah.
or Sombra from Overwatch?
Definitely Sombra from Overwatch.
Yes, and what's funny is that they look like they're similar archetypes. Apparently, the Concord character is a melee knife specialist, which is weird because I showed Daniel this before the show,
Yeah.
uh, and his guess that she was a tech person. And you can see why he would think she was a tech person because she has the little glasses that kind of look like they would have some sort of tech function.
Yeah.
And those big shoulder pads, yeah, like for some reason it evokes a sense of like nerdery.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not knife wielding melee specialist.
No. And I can tell you, having looked at some of the other characters, they this is the most interesting color palette of any of them. Most of them are like beige, dull green,
Mm.
tan with a little bit of color.
Oof.
In fact, these character designs have been seen as so unappealing on every level that at least as of last week in the late, the game had managed to beat Rule 34, which meant that people were looking for them on adult websites, and nobody had decided to draw adult drawings of them.
Ooh. Man.
Rule 34, supposedly, if it exists, someone has made adult drawings of it.
Yeah.
This is not the case here.
No.
That itself is almost kind of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Although after a week or so, like, okay, somebody has done it by now just to say they were the first, but still.
Yeah. 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 Yeesh.
And so and so we of course over the course of our show we've talked about a variety of movies and TV shows that have gone in on um, identity first. And things that like they like characters like Rogue Tico, where they take a beautiful person and they put them in a potato sack to try to defeat the male gaze.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and also the video game industry, like every industry has its own weird internal tropes. One of the things that has been said in video games for many years now is this idea that, oh, sorry, really good first player games can't be profitable. So, darn, I guess we'll just have to keep making Call of Duty with microtransactions all over the place. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Pump out another Madden game.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Um, and, those games do pretty well, though. Some of these live service games have, like we were just like a Concord here have launched and crash and burn. Same thing with Suicide Squad, aka the Stop Trying to Make Fetch Happen Squad.
Yeah.
People liked Harley Quinn in that one movie 7 years ago and haven't thought about her since.
Yeah.
Just make her a Batman supporting character again, please.
Yes. Yes. Boy. And make her Joker's girlfriend again.
Yes. Yes, please. And you might say, "Oh, DB and Daniel, you're just a couple of piggish brutes who are advocating for fan service." Sure, the Stellar Blades of the world can make money, and so can those gotcha games. But that just proves that the market is stupid and prurient. Yeah. It's not like anybody is breaking records selling a single player game starring something that the male gaze has no interest in. And oh wait,
Oh,
Black Myth Wukong. Despite Black Myth Wukong is an interesting story because it's the first major AAA single player Chinese made game.
mm.
And it's broken records for concurrent players on Steam. Now, a lot of those are from the Chinese market themselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still a lot of interest in America, just because it seems to be a well-made game made with a lot of passion and no microtransactions in sight. Funny how that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now this isn't to say that live service games are always going to fail going forward, but well, we were just mentioning gotcha games a second ago. Gotcha games are basically JPEG sellers with attractive ladies or men occasionally. So it's like the audience wants something cool or cute to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny how that works.
Yeah, in fact, cool and cute things to look at. Let's do a quick comparison here. Which of these character designs is cuter? Da, 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 da. Just to bring up movies again.
Yeah.
Which character designs are cuter? A or B?
B.
Definitely in B. The fact that Inside Out 2 has made more just in the US and Elemental made in combined box office nationally and internationally. It wasn't. It's not like Elemental was a bad movie. It was
No,
kind
it
of
was it
mid,
yeah, it was okay. Yeah.
but like most of these characters here are just immediately appealing to look at,
Yeah.
and they're also evocative. You can tell that the Mr. Angry guy is the angry guy. You can tell that that this one's kind of a valley girl. You can tell
Yeah.
that this one is kind of a shy nerd. You
Yeah.
can tell that this one is voiced by was it Amy Poehler,
I think that's right, yeah.
the, the Parks and Recreation lady.
Yeah.
Like, like you immediately look at them and know their personality.
Yeah.
And I will say, this design you kind of know the personality as like a hard as a try hard violent person.
Yeah.
So I guess you got that going for it. But like, what can you tell me about her? And like your first guess was wrong.
Yeah.
But I guess the lesson is that classic tropes of character design and storytelling work. And if the market keeps telling you that single player games can work, stop trying to make everything Destiny. Even Destiny hasn't been profitable for years, if it ever
N
was.
yeah, I was about to say, like, I mean, does anyone still play that game?
Yes, apparently Bungie was lying to Sony about how much money they were making after they got bought. So,
Oh.
so yeah,
Mm,
it's just very interesting how you've had so many consecutive bombs back to back. Like I would say, it's interesting that Star Wars Outlaws is probably the second most successful, or excuse me, it's the most successful of the ones that have been getting lambasted. And I would say that the sheer volume of noise pointed out Star Wars Outlaws kind of tells me that more people have actually been buying and playing it.
mm.
Like very few of the videos I've seen about Concord have actually said, I tried the game for half an hour and it's mostly people reporting on the fact that nobody's playing the game.
Yeah.
Like it's being called the biggest bomb in video game history.
Oh, wor worse than ET?
I mean,
The game
many
a
more
game so
people, many more people bought ET than Concord.
yeah, oh, yeah, I mean, that game was so horrendous, they had to dump all the unsold cartridges into a landfill.
So,
Like
so funny thing about that. So
yeah.
if you have an Xbox, there's a free Atari documentary on there
Mm.
that talks about them actually finding the landfill.
Oh, I think I've seen that, yeah.
Apparently, it wasn't just ET. There was a lot of unsold games.
Yeah, yeah. That one didn't surprise me. Yeah, after the video game bubble crashed in the '80s. Yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, I think our overall thesis here is that classic movies, even if they're kind of mediocre, can do shockingly well.